American farms are on the decline. There was a 7% drop in farms from 2017 to 2022, according to the USDA. That's about 142,000 fewer farms in just 5 years.
The camera doesn't cut to a politician. It zooms in on a darkened farmhouse where the for sale sign rattles louder than the wind. Washington promised tariffs would shield the heartland. Instead, the heartland is pawning off its own fields. The shock? Canada just landed a $214 billion deal by doing the opposite, opening doors while we build toll booths. One handshake in Ottawa flipped 3 Midwest factories' light switches to off before lunch. If you're tired of hearing everything's fine while your grocery bill shouts otherwise, tap like so more people see what mainstream headlines bury. Stick around, because the last move in this chain could hurt more than anything Beijing ever tried. And answer this. If the jobs go north but the taxes stay here, is that still made in America?
In a new poll, a flash poll that was just taken, 2/3 say they expect a recession this year or next year because of those new U.S. tariffs.
Dawn on the Ambassador Bridge. No banners, only rental trucks slipping into Ontario. The cargo isn't furniture. It's machinists' toolboxes, fleeing layoffs not yet announced. Canada's bait is one word: predictability. While Washington tweaks tariffs at midnight, Ottawa inks 20-year supply deals. Asian chips, Latin soy, European battery cells, all routed duty-free through Ontario. First comes steel. A 50% levy prices U.S. sheet metal out of reach. Windsor answers with yesterday's sticker, books orders through 2030, and hires a night shift. Detroit's line drops to 3 days and tells crews, keep your phones on. Then people follow. A welder from Dearborn crosses the river, earns 6 12-hour shifts plus dental, and sends cheaper Canadian dollars back to a mortgage now 1 month late. Foreign investment climbs 9% north of the border. South, projects idle waiting for exemptions that never arrive. Economists call it supply chain elasticity. Families in Michigan call it betrayal, as Windsor's skyline glows while their streetlights dim at 7 p.m. to save watts. Local mayors write letters. Lobbyists beg for carve-outs. Wall Street downgrades for Midwest suppliers. None of it stops the exodus. Each truck that crests the bridge hangs a help-wanted banner in Windsor and forces another payroll clerk in Ohio to update the severance sheet.
CEO says tariffs will cost GM between $4 and $5 billion this year.
Imagine a Kansas grain elevator packed to the rafters, the corn already sweating in its own starch. Rail cars should rattle in like clockwork. This week, the switchyard is silent enough to hear cicadas. The buyer in Shanghai vanished after Ottawa offered the same grain with zero duty and a handshake. The math hits everywhere at once. Steel at 50% duty raises tractor prices, which forces banks to demand more collateral. Farmers post equipment on Craigslist just to buy seed. The best bids arrive from Alberta. Downtown, the grocery rewrites shelf labels overnight. Tariff surcharge added at checkout. Families stare at the extra line on the receipt and trim meat from the cart. The manager kills the second freezer row to save power. Retail's stumble feeds back upstream. Warehouses in St. Louis cut shifts. Diesel rigs idle on I-55. Independent truckers abandon rigs they still owe payments on. One border choke now echoes through every county fair and church fundraiser in the region. Canada calls this chaos external demand, their polite way of saying our storm waters their fields. Foreign investment into Saskatchewan AG Tech jumps 9%. Midwest venture capital flatlines. Every silent rail sighting is another unpaid mortgage notice.
And the question, the idea that this shows factually that it is American consumers who pay the cost of tariffs.
Night shift in Lordstown once roared. Tonight, the vending machines echo. Management says pause. Workers carry boxes. Across the river in Oshawa, welders compare pay stubs and grin. Ottawa's Asia Latin Pact locks output for a decade, so the hiring line wraps the block. 2 towns, 1 company. Tariffs dug a trench deeper than Lake Erie. Locals drive past the dark plant. The marquee still flashes hiring 2015. Ghost letters glowing in wasted wattage. Sticker shock leaps beyond autos. Amazon slaps import charge applies and carts empty overnight. The White House cries sabotage. Shoppers call it math. When bedsheets jump $18, no one cares who fired first. Freight brokers feel it next. Fewer containers mean canceled sailings. Ports cut overtime. The domino hits tug, cruise, insurers, even the taco truck counting on dockworker tips. Executives preach short-term pain. Families on zero-hour gigs hear permanent downgrade. You can't budget patriotic suffering when the light bill wants cash, not slogans. Even CEOs know the edge is gone. A flash poll shows 2/3 bracing for recession, 1/3 plotting layoffs. Confidence is currency. When it drains, credit lines follow and suppliers fold. If that hits too close to home, hit like because silence doesn't pay the bills. Friday night in Ohio, a father of 3 taps the checkout screen at a big box store. A red banner pops up, tariff surcharge, $42.60. His thumb hovers, then hammers cancel. All week he skipped lunch to stay on budget. A shopping cart shouldn't feel like Russian roulette. That scene repeats from Miami to Minneapolis, but the merchandise still has to move. Retail chains reroute inventory to warehouses in Toronto and Montreal where no surcharge applies. The same toaster crosses the border and re-enters on a third-party website for $5 less. Free shipping, duty-free. Mom-and-pop shops can't play that game. Their shelves thin, their lights dim, and their Yelp pages turn into digital ghost towns. Economists call it demand elasticity. Customers just call it gone. Ottawa's tourism ads rub salt in the wound. Shop Canada. Save the exchange. Families who once drove south for outlet sales now head north for groceries. Border towns flip their welcome signs and toll booths glow like slot machines. Sunrise over Long Beach Harbor, normally a forest of crane arms. Today half are parked, cables swaying in the breeze like idle nooses. Containers that should be piled 5 high never left Asia. Tariffs price them out. A trucker named Carla counts hours, not miles. Dispatch cancels 2 loads, then 3. Her payment book doesn't cancel itself. She sleeps in the cab to save motel money, listening to AM radio hosts argue about short-term pain. Pain, yes. Short-term, doubtful. Freight lenders smell risk and jack interest rates. One logistics firm folds, then another. The shockwave leaps inland. Packaging plants /shifts, pallet suppliers shutter, diners near the docks close at dusk. An entire microeconomy collapses quietly, like a bridge in fog. Across the continent, Halifax booms. Canadian ports snag rerouted cargo, hire stevedores, and add rail links straight into the Midwest. Every new Canadian job is stamped powered by U.S. tariffs. Wall Street analysts downgrade transport stocks. Pension funds feel the slip. Retirees who thought they were distant from global trade now watch 401k's bleed value. When the warning bells finally reach Capitol Hill, they sound suspiciously like foreclosure notices in swing districts. Tariffs were sold as armor. They turn out to be boomerangs. Jobs, freight, and hard-earned savings curved north, east, anywhere but home, while the invoices landed squarely in American mailboxes. So tell me below, is this collapse or a cold recalibration? Did leaders protect industry or swap it for applause lines? Betrayal or strategy? You decide. Drop a comment. Every opinion draws the map of who still feels heard. Because when the factory lights go dark, but the tax bill still glows bright, the flag outside may flutter unchanged. Yet something unspoken has already crossed the border.